He's going to rule the world. This is cosmology impacting on politics. He's going to rule the world. He's going to rule the world with justice, which will replace the injustice which will precede it. And that his rule would be from the Holy Land. He was taken up from the Holy Land, and while there is a statement of the Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, that when he returns, he will return in Damascus. I have confessed to my audience here in Cape Town that I have a problem with that. It's not that I'm rejecting the hadith or the word of the Prophet, but I have a problem. I noticed that when the spiritual journey, the nocturnal ascent of the Prophet Muhammad, Allah's blessings be upon him, he was in Mecca. And he was taken by night from Mecca to Jerusalem. And from Jerusalem he ascended through the different worlds of space and time, and then came back down in Jerusalem. And if Jesus was raised from Jerusalem, it seems to me that there's some logical consistency that he should return to Jerusalem. I believe that's the Christian view.
Well, I'm not sure, because you see, I think again we're using symbolism and imagery to describe what's indescribable. There are some of the imagery implies that every eye will see him. Now, what one has to conceive of within our present space-time understanding is how do people in South Africa and people in Australia see him at the same time? It seems to me that we're looking here at an event that transcends time and history. And therefore, in one sense, I don't know what it will be like. You see, I think that when we're talking about the end times, and we tend to be catastrophic, by the way, in the way we describe these. I have problems with that, but we do tend to put all the negatives about what's going on in the world. And you can have people who say, well, we could end up blowing the whole thing up with nuclear explosion, in which case there's nothing for Jesus to return to rule over anyway. But is that kind of end, one that we bring about, the same thing as we mean by the end of all things? That's one thing. If we were to have nuclear war and wipe out light on this planet, would that compel Jesus to return? You see what I mean? I think that there is a difference between our events and what we're describing, and that most of the imagery of the Bible turns the return of Christ into a supernatural event, which then transcends history. I mean, for example, you talk about Christ coming to reign. There is a part of the Christian myth is what's called the millennium, the return and reigning for 1,000 years. But I think that's been discarded by the church, generally speaking. It's been resurrected by some, say, Christian, more way out Christians, but on the whole, most Christian in the rank and file of the church would not accept that. And I think in any case it's a Jewish belief, which I could explain if I'm given more than 4 minutes, but I think I should let my question ride for the moment. I just have a problem with linking space and time, Jesus returning in Jerusalem, in a context in which we're looking at an event where everybody will be caught up and every eye see him.
But let me enter into the record something for my own safety. If you see me yawning, it's not because of boredom. It's because I left my home at the end of February last year, and I've been traveling ever since. Yes. I have to be guided by what the Prophet said, because he is a prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, and by the book, the Quran. And our audience here would be more interested in knowing what does the Quran say, what does the Prophet say, rather than what this West Indian, after the West Indians have been thoroughly defeated, what does this Trinidadian have to say? But we're coming after you, don't worry, we're coming after you. He said that when Jesus returns, it is going to be a specific event in political history. Namely, that he would be Hakim, one who rules. And he would be Hakimun Adil, one who would rule with justice from the Holy Land. In order for us to understand the concept of the return of Jesus, alayhi salam, I think we have to focus on the Antichrist. And from the time we focus on the Antichrist, we come face to face with the problem that I am hoping that you will direct some attention to. How do you deal with religious symbolism? He said about the Antichrist that he would ride on a donkey. That the donkey will travel as fast as the clouds. And the donkey will have his ears stretched out wide. We have one school of thought which declares that we have to accept this statement literally. One school of our scholarship. And therefore, that we have to wait for the flying donkey. You see? And they're laughing. So they're going to accuse me of humiliating them because this audience is laughing. And then there's another school which says, no, this is religious symbolism. Like the sun and the moon and 11 stars. And when God speaks and He sends a message, sometimes He sends it coded. And the secular think tanks who have no faith in the heart, who judge progress by the height of a building and not by what is in the heart, who say men can be bought and sold, you just need enough rands to buy them, and who cannot conceive that there is a man who cannot be bought with all the rands in the world. He's not up for sale because he has something called integrity. That when he sends down his message in a coded form, it's only his servants who would understand. And when they see, they will see with light, which is not sold either in Washington or in London or in Baghdad, or can't buy it, not even in the stock market. Light. Yesterday, Jewish scholarship produced Jewish mystics, great men. Yesterday, Christian scholarship produced Christian mystics, great men. Hindu scholarship did the same. And we had our share of Muslims who pursued the spiritual path. Today we live in an age of darkness, where religion is now reduced to conferences and seminars and research papers. And the wisdom of the past, with men who saw with the divine light, seems to be going away. We say that the donkey is already here. We say the donkey is the modern aircraft, and that donkey is polluting a lot of the atmosphere up there, I've been told. So a problem of interpretation of religious symbolism, what we have in our community at the moment. And secondly, to focus attention on understanding the return of the true Messiah, you have to understand the false Messiah. He has to rule from Jerusalem.
He's ruling from over there as well, actually.
He has to rule